All right, guys, welcome to the NBA playoffs. The Utah Jazz lost by 30 points to the Houston Rockets. It hurts in my heart and my soul, the pain. It sucks. It really sucks. Let's talk about a few things. One, the Rockets are really good. We talked about this. If you haven't watched my game preview or the playoff preview I did, go watch it. The analysis is that the Rockets are really good. James Harden has a chance to win the MVP this year. I think it's going to probably go to Giannis, but he very well could win it. Who knows? I don't get a vote. But Harden's really good. And the Jazz tried an offense solely designed to stop him. That's how good Harden is when the other team has to change literally their entire offense or defense to guard you. That means you're a pretty impactful offensive player, right? I mean, the second half, the Jazz played a lot better, and it looked like they just kind of do what they do, and it actually went better because they know what they're doing. And whatever they were doing in the first half, I think, honestly, it was just not executed well. And it might not be executed well because the Jazz might not have the personnel to do it. It really looked like they were trying that thing that, you know, in that Milwaukee Bucks video you watched that worked really well. It didn't work. And maybe they try that again. But I kind of feel like Utah needs to come out next game and just do what got them here. Otherwise, they might just get toasted. And they might get toasted anyway because Houston's really good. Harden was fantastic. I don't have the stats in front of me. I don't really care because it hurts my feelings to look at stat sheets like that. When the Jazz lose by 30, I'm not checking the stats because the one stat that matters is the L the Jazz took tonight. It was a big L. There's a lot of L's that you take, and tonight was one of them. Now, is this series over? No. Is it going to be really tough for Utah to win this? Yes. This is why Utah was hoping not to face the Rockets in the playoffs, but about a million things went wrong to make this happen, and it sucks. And honestly, it kind of sucks for Houston too, because then they have to play Golden State next round, which is the decider of the NBA Finals this year, basically. Well, maybe the Bucks, you know. Those are the top three teams, though. It's Golden State, Houston, and Milwaukee. And the Jazz drew one of those three in the first round. So that's great. That's great. It's just tough. But Houston looked really good. Their defense was fantastic. They look like they don't really miss Trevor Ariza. If you're a Jazz fan, you've got to be pretty bummed. Their scheme worked. Ours didn't. The biggest problem and the biggest difference is that look at Houston. Everyone shoots the ball. You know, Harden's job is not that hard. He just executes it at just an elite level. He's really, when he gets the ball at the top of the 3-point line, he either is shoot or drive. If he chooses to shoot, he's a high-level shooter. If he drives, then at that point he has basically three choices. It's either go to the rim and take the shot or slash floater or whatever. It's lob it to Capella if the big comes over and Capella finishes. Or if they're guarding that well, then it's take it to the corner three and hopefully they make it. Tonight, the Jazz were trying to give up that corner three, and it worked a little bit just because Houston shot makers were missing, and that changed because Houston is filled with shooters. The Jazz are not. The Jazz, honestly, for almost every lineup that's on the floor, they're usually down. They usually only have like two good shooters for the starting unit. It's Donovan Mitchell and Joe Ingles. And so opposing defenses, it's not hard to guard the Jazz. This is the story of the whole season for Utah. You know, Rubio has to have an enormous series for the Jazz to win, but you're asking Rubio to do things that he's just not good at. You know, Rubio's not a knockdown 3-point shooter. He's not Eric Gordon or, you know, or anyone on the Rockets roster. Basically feels like everyone shoots above 36% from three. It's just tough. That's why, like, Harden's job is, he's still incredible, but you got to give Daryl Morey credit for setting up this team that sets him up to succeed. Right now, Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert aren't really being set up to succeed. And people are going to give this Capella Gobert argument. It's not. It's silly. guess what? Rudy Gobert is incredible. But when you have James Harden, who's arguably the best pick and roll player in the history of the NBA, and Chris Paul, who might be up there in the top 5, it doesn't really matter who is playing that center position. If it was Ed Davis, if it was Rashawn Holmes, all these guys can finish lobs. And Capella does a good job. But let's not act like Rudy's got a very capable, it's just impossible. They're so good. And if Rubio and Donovan get beat at the top of the key, it's almost over at that point, because what's Rudy supposed to do? It's guard. If it's come up and take Harden because Harden breaks, to the free throw line, then that's fine. But then Capella's open for the lob. That's not Rudy's fault. By the way, Jay Crowder had a rough game. Woo boy. Jay Crowder and Thabo Sefolosha did not have great nights tonight. Not great nights. If the Jazz are going to win, it's going to have to be with elite defensive performances, because this Houston team is incredible. But Jay couldn't hit a 3. It was 1 for 6. And Thabo hit a garbage time 3 that doesn't matter. We don't have shooters, And Derek played really well. I think Derek was a +1 for the game, which is incredible. And a 30-point loss. Think about that. Derek Favors +1 and a 30-point loss. I think that tells you a lot about actually the Jazz starters. But, boy, it was a rough game for Utah. Not a lot outside of that. The Jazz have to adjust, but it's really just Houston's a buzzsaw with a just incredibly elite offense, and their defense played like it did last year. If Houston plays like this, they can win the title. Honestly, they're that good. And it sucks for Utah, who played a really good season and did really well, and who is an actual good team, to draw this level of opponent. Houston's phenomenal. Utah's really good. Utah's a really good team playing an elite team. That's just how it goes. And a lot of what Utah does gets negated by Houston. It's just not a good matchup for Utah, and part of that's just because they have more talent overall. They're really well built. Even just a player like Eric Gordon as your 3rd or 4th option, that's incredible. You know what I mean? Eric Gordon, if he's played for the Jazz, would start at our guard position and be the 3rd option as well, and be amazing. The Jazz would be a whole nother level with Eric Gordon, and he's 3rd or 4th, 5th option for the Rockets. He's a luxury. So Houston's great. Daryl Morey's done an incredible job. This is the year they got to do it, because they do have a lot of salary, but they'll probably be able to figure it out. I don't know the Rockets cap situation, but I know that they're really good. That's all I got to say. This one kind of rambled. If you're a Jazz fan, that 3rd quarter, you saw some things that were really nice, and it seemed like they started to play well. But there were a lot of players that did not play well for Utah, and there were a lot of players on the Rockets that did. And there's your analysis. Guys, like and subscribe this video. We will talk next game. Plus, what's nice? I don't have to change the background. Makes life a little easier for me. Talk to you later.